So today, I thought I would do something a bit different and actually try and model something in Blender. So, we're gonna make a tiny little house today, and I'm gonna be using this reference from Midjourney. And I tell you what, we're gonna even use the default cube, because why make another one? So do that, and then start by going into edit mode, and then press Ctrl R to make a loop cut. And then just double click, it should be right in the middle. And then drag the top 2 points up, like a house. Then go into face mode and click the top 2 faces. And then press Shift D to duplicate. And then click to place it in the same spot, like don't move it. And then press P and click separate by selection. And you should have a new roof. And then click the 2 edges on the outside and scale them out a bit, because that's what roofs do. And move them down, And then click all the edges and scale it the other way a bit. Then extrude it. I think it's the E key. I changed mine though. Then to start making the window, add another cube. And then put it on the side and, scale it down a bit. Then when you have it just right, you can press Ctrl 1 to add a subdivision modifier. It won't look right at first, but, we'll fix that. Just go into edit mode and press Ctrl R again, and then slide the edges near the ends of it, and it should start to look, more like clay. Then to make the top of the window, we'll start and add a circle mesh. And then on your options, make sure you check triangle fan. Otherwise, you won't have any geometry. That's important. Also, by the way, I save my preferences for moving stuff. If you want that, I'll just put it in the description. So it's more like other 3D programs. I could never get used to the default Blender stuff. Then once you have it in the right spot, go into edit mode. Then you can press I and make a ring inside of it. And then just delete all the faces you don't need. So you get a nice little arch. Then click the bottom 2 edges and click the extrude button again. And then go up to the tool panel and click the XYZ button so you can choose which way it's going. And then extrude the whole thing out. Then add a subdivision modifier and sort of do the same thing with that. Then copy and paste the windowsill, and then you can make the tiny blocks. Then you can select all of your planks and then press Ctrl J to make it one object. And then, of course, just copy and paste the window and put it on the front. And I'm sure there's one on the other side too, but you just can't see it in the reference, so do that. And then you can put the subdivision modifier on the base and do the same thing with the roof and do all your edge loops and stuff. Then just add a regular cube for the door. You don't need to subdivide that one because you don't really see the edges. And then add planks around it. You can just copy the windowsill again. Then there's a little roof over the door. I just added a plane. It's more of a guide. And then, just rotate that down a bit. Then just add some planks around it, kind of following the edges, and it should look nice. Then use another cube to start making the shingles on it. And then, by the way, I forgot to mention, make sure you right-click on your model and click Shade Smooth. I just forgot to put it in here because I couldn't find it. And then you can use the shingles to start making a little path out front. There's only about 6, so it's not too bad. And, scale them, and, I turned one to make it look more artistic. Then make the shingles on top. I tried geometry nodes, but I think doing it manually kind of works better. Then you can add a mirror modifier so you don't have to do it again. Just make sure you make all the shingles one object first. And then select the roof underneath or the cube for your mirror object, and it should work. Then I forgot, I just added 2 more planks to the tiny roof in the front. And the reference doesn't have holes in the windows, but, that's kind of not realistic. So just add an edge loop on top and an edge loop on the bottom. And then you can just move the points until they're behind the window frame. You shouldn't actually need more than that. It's pretty nice. And 2 more hotkeys that are pretty useful. I'm sure a lot of people already know them, but you press tab to go from object to edit mode. And then when you're in edit mode, you can press 1, 2, or 3 to go from your points and your lines and your face mode. Then when you have your points all lined up, you can just click the 2 faces in the middle and delete them. I guess maybe you should delete them first because it's not quite lined up. But just, do that until it lines up with the windowsill. Then do the same thing with the window on the left. And then we'll just mirror that over. Then you can click the little X on the gimbal on the top right to make the view flat. And then turn on X-ray mode so you can select all the points. And then delete half the house. And then just add another mirror modifier again. But you'll have to drag it above the subdivision modifiers. Otherwise, you'll get a hole in it. Then I deleted the little guide for the tiny roof because we don't need that anymore. And then the last thing is just the doorknob. And that's pretty easy. I just made a cylinder, kind of rounded it out. Just bevel the edges and you should be good to go. Then for the rocks, you want to start with a cube instead of a sphere, which seems weird, but it makes your geometry better. And then just add a subdivision surface modifier again and crank it up. 3 seems about the best. If you leave it at 2, it's still a bit too chunky. I just forgot to do that at first. I added another subdivision later. And then go into sculpt mode and you can just hold shift and kind of smooth out the sides until it's rock shaped. Make sure you apply the modifier though, otherwise you'll only be sculpting the cube that you started with. And then just copy and paste that for, any other rocks you might have. And that's it for the house. Now we're going to make the grass and that'll be it. That'll be all the modeling. And an easy way to make grass, I think, is make a plane and then make it a rectangle. And then add a loop in the middle, and then cut the other 2 parts in half, and then scale down the top, and then scale out the middle, and then scale down the bottom a bit, and it's pretty close. It's good enough. And then add a loop in the middle, and then push it back a bit. And there you go. You can probably get away with 1, but I ended up making about 3. And then, of course, scale them down to grass size. Congrats, you made it through the modeling. Now we can start adding our textures. So grass is usually green, so I went ahead with the green there. And then to use the scattering right, you want to click on your plane and then subdivide it to about 50. Then go into weight painting mode and start painting where you want your grass. And you can hold control and then paint and it'll delete spots you don't want. Then in the other view panel, you can drag it up and then go into geometry nodes and then make sure you click your plane and then click the new button and find distribute points on faces, and connect the dots there. Then add instance on points node and then connect that. Then if you've never done geometry nodes before, you'll see that the plane disappears when you connect the last one, so you have to add a join geometry node and then connect the very beginning to that too, and then hook that all up and it should be fixed. Then add a collection info node. If you only have 1, you can add an object info node. And then click your grass pieces and press M and make them a new collection and name it and stuff. And then now find your grass collection on the little collection info box. And then connect the instance dots together. But you'll see that it's not in the right spot. So click separate children and reset children and then pick instance. And your grass blades will probably be too big and they'll probably be flat like this. So make sure you apply your rotation and then also your scale transforms. And it should finally be good. Then to get your weight painting working, change the distribute from random to Poisson disk, and then connect your density factor to the empty circle on the geometry node. Then go to your wrench tab and then click the little flag and then click the empty box and find your weight painting group. It'll probably just be called group. And that's pretty much it. Besides texturing, you can weight paint out the spots where the rocks are, or you can just delete those pieces afterwards. And then to apply the geometry nodes, you can't just really apply it, which is too bad. I wish it could automatically do that. You have to go to apply and make instances real. Step 1. Then before you click off, I like to add them to a new collection because there's usually a lot and it just makes it difficult. Then if you join them now, you'll either get way too much grass and it'll be in the wrong spot, or you'll get some error that says you can't do this with a multi-user, whatever that means. I'm not really an expert on that stuff yet. But to fix it, make sure you got your grass blade selected. You can right-click on the collection and then click Select Objects. Then go into your Object tab and go to Relations, make Single User, and click Object and Data. And then if you join them now, it should finally work. Thank goodness. That took me a good minute to figure out. Then you can start texturing everything. I basically just put a color on there and then turn the roughness up to about 0.7 or 8. Another cool trick you can do is you can select all the objects you want as the same material, and then select another object you have with the material already on it, and then press Ctrl L and click Link Materials, and it'll apply it to all your objects. Very nice. And then I changed the renderer to cycles. And to get a faster render, go down to your max samples and make them 200 or so. I already changed it before, but yours will be at about 1,000 or something. And then change your noise threshold to about 0.2. And then make sure your denoisers are on. I don't know why there's 2, but, you know, turn them both on, I guess. And then thank goodness I found this option. Change your view transform, or whatever that is, to raw. And it looks pretty bad at first. I don't know if you're actually supposed to do this, but it's the only way I could actually make it look white. So do that. Then in your world settings on your shader editor, just turn up the background a bit to a light gray. And then, you know, adjust your color a bit. The red on the shingles was a bit too red, so I turned it down and then made it a bit more orange. And then the wood was kind of dark, so I just brightened that up a bit. And then you can mess with the roughness if it's not quite right. I guess I ended with 0.9 or something. And I almost forgot, make sure you got your shade smooth on your grass. And then one final thing I thought was kind of cool is I added a light on the inside, and then you can change it to yellow, and it looks all, you know, cozy and stuff. Shazam. You know, overall, I'm pretty happy with how it turned out, because I was super bad at modeling in Blender, but this is really helpful doing this tiny project with this tiny house. Then if you want a shadow catcher, click your plane and then go to the orange square tab and then go down to visibility and click shadow catcher. And then in the camera tab thing, you can go down to the film tab and make sure you click transparent to make the background transparent. Hopefully you enjoyed this and learned a thing or two. I know I learned quite a bit actually, because I was so bad at modeling in Blender. If you like this video, that would be awesome if you could leave a like. And hopefully I'll do some more tutorials in the future, especially if people start subscribing more, because this channel is kind of new. I have a website I'll put the project file on. If you go to learngasm.com, I'll put a link for that in the description too. It's still sort of under construction right now, but, you know, hopefully it'll get better later. And thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.